If you have been training every muscle twice per week because somebody online suggested that more frequency means more growth, stop. You may be slowing down your growth. And in this video today, I will explain to you why training muscle once per week is the best way of training for maximum growth, what science says, and how to grow faster with less. I'm Dr. Nesh Jocic, former bodybuilding champion. I've been in bodybuilding for over 40 years. I competed 46 times and won 17 titles. And during that time, I have coached over 3,500 clients and helped them to get in the best shape of their lives. I have also published 11 ebooks which are fully loaded with detailed explanation about everything you always wanted to know about bodybuilding. So if you want to get access to them, simply click the link in the comments and you can have them. Now, before we even get into the why training muscle once per week is the best for muscle growth, let me tell you my experience with hundreds of people who came to me and complained that they don't have results and they don't feel right, and they have loads of injuries because they were training muscle twice per week. So for decades, I have experienced case after case that people who have trained twice per week complained about many things. So number one thing they complained was they didn't experience as much growth as they were expecting because they were doing everything that everybody else said, or maybe they were copying training systems of most famous bodybuilders in the world, which are literally exceptions. They are freaks of nature, like Arnold, Serge Nubre, Sergio Oliva, and similar. And most of us, 99% plus, won't be able to just copy their training system and train every muscle twice per week as they have done. So a lot of people get into the trap. They try to copy them and then they get stuck. So growth didn't happen to most of these guys who came to me, and they complain about that simply because growth didn't happen because they performed every workout less than 100%. They were performing 70-80%. Because when you train muscle twice per week, you simply cannot go 100% for every workout. So you will have to go less. And there are many of influencers on YouTube who are suggesting that, obviously, relying on so-called scientific research, which is absolutely irrelevant to us, irrelevant to somebody who's been in the gym for years and years and training maybe for decades and now is trying to improve. So this research is absolutely have nothing to do with us. Most of them are done on untrained individuals, college kids and nurses, and those researches have absolutely nothing to do with you. If you have already been going to the gym for a few months or a few years, that doesn't mean anything to you. So what they are suggesting is that it's better to train, let's say, chest twice per week, doing 10 sets per workout for chest, rather than to do 20 sets in one session. So this is what happened to most of the people who came to me and complained about no growth. But simply training muscle twice per week will never allow you to go 100%. So why would you train your muscle 50 or 60% and finish your session, let's say first chest session in the week, on Monday, for example, and then you go again and you train chest again on Thursday with again 60-70%. Because if you do chest on Monday 100%, I guarantee you there is no way that you can train that muscle again within 3 or 4 days. It's impossible. This is one of the reasons why people complained to me most of the time. They simply didn't grow. Now, the number two complaint was about constant central nervous exhaustion. So people who train twice per week every muscle, they ended up training 6 times per week. So if you train muscle twice per week and all muscle groups, and you end up training 6 days per week in order to fulfill that holy grail of training muscle twice per week, right? You will constantly be taxing your central nervous system, and your central nervous system will never be able to recover. So I will explain to you a little bit more about recovery later. But just to mention that when you train muscle once per week and you leave it, that part of the body, that muscle group, or that chain of muscles, muscle unit will have 7 days to recover. Nothing is written in stone. People say, why 7 days, why not 8? But we have to start from somewhere. So this is the point of reference. So you may end up training muscle maybe 6. every 6 days or 8 days or 9 days. This is entirely up to you, but we have to start from somewhere. So for the sake of an argument, week is usually taken not because it's 7 days, because God made week of 7 days, but because it happens that certain recovery of certain tissues, especially your nervous tissue as well, central nervous tissue, take roughly as long as within that frame of 7 days. Not because somebody invented the week of 7 days, but because things are happening in that sequence, and I will explain to you why is that. So when the body gets into that survival mode, obviously you're going to be constantly tired. This was the second complaint that I have faced most of the time when people train twice per week. Now the number 3 complaint was lots of injuries. So people who train twice per week, most of the time are plagued with injuries. They can be minor, they can be a bit more serious, and they can also be very serious. So the reason for that is, as I mentioned, and again I will explain later on, so watch this video until the end. You will have the full picture of why training once per week is the best that you can do. So basically when you are when you're hitting your muscle twice per week, your muscle, right, can recover within 48 to 72 days. Muscle can recover, but connective tissue will not recover. So you need a little bit more for that. You need extra 2 days for connective tissue to recover, especially your tendons and ligaments. So tennis elbow, chronic pain in the shoulder, impingement, knees, lower back, they are happening because people, when they train twice per week, they never recover their connective tissues. So it's not just the muscle. You can't just stick to that, 48 to 72 hours. Everybody said protein synthesis, I can do muscle again. No, you cannot. You can do muscle, but you cannot do muscle without connective tissues, because every time you train muscle, you could train your connective tissues too. So you have to understand that for the connective tissues, it takes a bit longer. It takes 2 days extra. So if the muscle recovers within 3 days, it will take at least 5 days for connective tissues to recover. And for central nervous system, it will take even more. So this is how we arrive to those 7 days. Not because it's God's creation, but because it's the sequence of recovery of your muscle, number 1, connective tissues, number 2, and then central nervous system, number 3. The fourth complaint was that most of them never really looked good. They were always out of shape. And they didn't understand. They would say to me, I'm training twice per week and I'm not in shape. I should have been much better. I mean, not necessarily shredded, but I should be very lean and muscular, but I'm not. And the reason why they don't understand that is because they're constantly overtraining. So constant overtraining brings them into the environment of cortisol overproduction. So you understand, again, the last hormone that you want to have and overproduce in your body is actually that catabolic hormone, which is called cortisol. So you need cortisol up to the point in order to fulfill your high-intensity workouts, but you don't need extra cortisol in your body. And this will happen if you start hitting muscle twice per week, or, even more, or even worse, if you keep doing cardio in traditional sense, like incline treadmills, step masters, steppers, or whatever else. So this constant presence of cortisol keeps these people in that out of shape condition all the time. Number 6 complaint was that they always felt, and they said to me so many times, I'm training twice per week, but I always feel that, I could have done more. I could have done more in that session, but I had to stop. So why did you stop? Oh, because, those days like a bunch of wise men are saying they say that it's better to do twice 10 sets, for example, for chest than once 20 sets. I said, really? So why don't you feel then that you have done everything? You have your own feelings, you have your own instincts. By the way, you have your own mind, which you are not using. But why you are doing that? Oh, but because they said. Manda, who are they? What do they know about you? You don't feel fulfilled up doing 10 sets for chest. What do you feel? I think I feel I can do another 4 or 5 or maybe another 10. Exactly. This is the same as I say to you. Instead of 6 eggs for breakfast, let's have 3 now and then come back in an hour and have another 3. You will never do that because you want to eat your breakfast and then go and when you feel hungry, you have another meal. The same principle applies to training muscle once per week. When you do your muscle in 20, 25, 30 sets, whatever, you will fulfill that need to exercise the muscle fully, and you will optimize your myofibrillar, also your capillary growth or sarcoplasmic growth. So these 6 complaints are usually something that I always hear from people who exercise muscle twice per week. Now, let me tell you my own experience, firsthand. Obviously, this is the best that you can get. And my experience with training muscle twice per week with this higher number of higher intensity, but then less volume. So when I came to London in 1993, I trained like everybody else. So we were hitting muscle around twice per week, and that was with very high intensity. Dorian Yates' philosophy was prevailing in those days. So we would train muscle every 3 or 4 days, sometimes 5 days, but that was high intensity, as much weight as you can. I was one of the strongest guys in muscle works. I remember benching 4 plates each side, squatting 5.5 plates each side for reps, for 6 to 8 reps. And that was great. I was getting stronger. I was very happy to be strong. But then I competed in 94 or 95. I did a few shows in England. And the shock was that in 94 or 95, after I have trained in that Dorian Yates fashion, I ended up even smaller on the stage than I was in 92, when I won my nationals last time in Yugoslavia, and I was in the best shape of my life. So then I started doubting all of this. I thought for 3-4 years I've been training this Dorian Yates heavy-duty kind of training principle, but I just didn't improve. I ended up being smaller on the stage. So why should I listen to all this hype? I never saw Dorian training, although I know him personally, but I never saw him training, and I heard that he was doing 16 to 20 sets per workout, per muscle group, not just 4 or 5 sets, as many people believe. So I reverted then to my 1992 training principles, which was high volume, medium intensity, obviously, and I was training muscle once per week. And then I continued like that, although I stopped competing in 95 because life happened, so I had other things to do. But then in 2000, I started getting ready again, not for the show this time, but I was doing videos. So I want to be in shape for my videos, and then eventually for my books, they were coming. So in 2000, I started, from 95 till 2000, I just trained high volume, every muscle once per week as I did in the past. And I was constantly in shape, and I looked great. And then when I did my photo shoot for my videos, and while I was filming my videos and also books, I ended up being better than ever. So you can see from these images how I looked. I remember in those days I managed to do often for back. I went up to 40 sets, and you can see how my back looked. This is year 2000 and also 2000, from 2000 to 2004. For 4 years, I just looked phenomenal. So what did I do? I did it, as I said, training every muscle once per week, high volume, chest were everywhere from 20 to 25 sets. Back was usually 25 plus sets. Sometimes I would go to crazy 40 sets, only for back. Legs were usually always 20, 25 sets, obviously quads and hamstrings. Shoulders were 16 sets. Biceps would be 12 to 16 sets. Triceps the same. Calves I would do 10 to 15 sets per week. Abs probably 10 sets, not more. So everything was 8 to 12 reps, upper body muscles and also hamstrings and calves, while only higher number of reps I performed for my quads and seated calf raises, which is for the muscle solos. So reps for quads and solos were anywhere from 12 to 20, 25. And this was the training system that I did. I ended up looking absolutely phenomenal. And I've been training like that ever since. And not just me, but also all my clients who changed beyond recognition. And you can see them on my website. You can see how much they changed. And also, most of them arrived to me by training muscle twice per week. And they've complained about all these problems, as I mentioned. So now, what is the problem with high frequency? Why people think that training twice per week is better than once per week, and where that comes from? So that comes from a lot of researches and scientific analysis, apparently, which, as I mentioned, were performed on people who were completely untrained, and they will probably react to anything. You can put them in any kind of change of environment, and they will change. So it's simply absolutely not relevant for us or for people who have been already training. So when you increase in frequency, you dilute volume. So you can't perform full volume per workout, which is absolutely necessary, as I mentioned, for myofibrillar and sarcoplasmic growth. So you just lose a lot. And then your next session is going to be, again, 60-70% because you already trained the muscle up to the point. It's just a complete nonsense. So I have, as I mentioned, trained from religiously, basically from 2000, from 95. I completely changed, and I just didn't experiment anymore, because I have to say to you that I have trained every single training system on earth. That if you imagine any training system, I've done it. I've tried it. When it comes to diets, I try them all as well. I tried everything. And I came to the conclusions after so many years, so many competitions, so many clients, that this type of training muscle once per week, but training it optimally is the best way that you can not just grow, but you will also recover. And you can't grow without recovery. So you see, your biology doesn't change. So hypertrophy timeline is, when it comes to protein synthesis, is anywhere from 48 to 72 hours. So, but you need 3 to 5 days for myofibrillar repair, which is directly related to connective tissues. So connective tissues are not only tendons and joints, but also connective tissues within the muscles. Every muscle, all these muscle fibers, they're made in a bundle, which is made of connective tissue. So all these tissues need full recovery, and until they recover fully, you will never grow. On top of that, you need to think about CNS, central nervous system fatigue. So you need even more days for that. So when you are fully recovered after a week, and you go to the gym to do your chest or legs again, you're going to be happy, you're going to be motivated. You are going to be excited to go and train that particular muscle. You're not going to be in the mood, oh, my legs are still sore, my knees, my elbows, how I'm going to do it, but I have to do it again twice per week. They say. So this is absolutely transparent to everybody who has ever tried training muscle twice per week and training muscle once per week. Now, if you have read my books, you can see that I suggest training muscle 3 times per week, but in certain periods. So training muscle 3 times per week is only for very beginners. If you've never been to the gym, I'm suggesting to go to the gym and do a whole body 3 times per week. But this is only for these first few weeks or maybe a couple of months. After that, you need to change the training system, and you need to train upper and lower body. So from 3 times per week, every muscle, whole body actually, you're going to start doing every muscle twice per week. But this is only for the beginners because intensity level is very low. And the goal in this early beginning, in these first 3 to 6 months, is not for you to grow, but to become accustomed to weights, to resistance machines, to gyms, to develop your consistency, your discipline, to start sorting out your diet. And for that reason, because you're not training intensely and your technique is far from good, you need to repetitively repeat those sessions in order to start performing them in a autopilot mode, but in the correct form. So this is why I advise only those periods to train muscles more often. But once you become more serious, once you started developing and your intensity increases, that changes, and you are slowly shifting into the training system that will stay for the rest of your life. And this is training muscle fully, properly, with high intensity, only once per week. Let me remind you once again that not just me, but also my son that you have seen in the previous video, who is natural bodybuilder, who is 25 years old, is 95 kgs, very tight, very lean. He's training every muscle once per week. And a lot of his friends that started following him started changing immediately because they started doing something right. They train fully, they hit the muscle, they cause that catabolic effect on the muscle fully, which will trigger full recovery, full supercompensation. And that will only happen if you allow not just the muscle to recover, not just connective tissue, but also central nervous system. So he is doing it, I'm doing it, all my clients are doing it. I don't know what else I can mention actually to convince you that training muscle once per week is your best choice for muscle growth and also fat loss, because when you're training this way, you will not be pumping extra cortisol in your body. So the cortisol will be just as necessary for your high intensity, correctly regulated and performed workouts. So therefore, you will not start accumulating body fat around your waist, which is usually where cortisol tends to accumulate body fat. If I can summarize in one sentence, stop doing every muscle twice per week. Stop following those so-called experts and their holy grails of scientific research proven methods to build muscle. When you know now, when you hear from the first hand from somebody who spent 40 years in bodybuilding and trained thousands of clients and still doing the same thing with 100% results, then I don't know what else can help you. Let me remind you again that I have published 11 ebooks, and they are all fully loaded with detailed information about muscle growth, fat loss, nutrition, necessary number of sets, reps, lifestyle change. So basically everything you always wanted to know about bodybuilding. And if you want to expand your knowledge and deepen your understanding, so simply click on the link in the comments and you can access my ebooks. I would also suggest that you watch this video in which I offer my other services like online personal training, telephone consultations, personalized training programs, and also personalized nutritional programs. And for people who live in London, personal training one-to-one. So this is the way that I can help you directly one-to-one to improve and get in the shape that you always wanted to be. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, please subscribe to my channel, like the video, and also send me your comments. And until the next video, I wish you all the best.